Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, former acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, emerges as the substantive national chairman of the party amidst protest by some candidates. Ruling All Progressives Congress gives the thumbs down to the PDP National Convention, describes exercise as abnormal. President Buhari to join over 50 world leaders at the One Planet Summit in Paris this week as part of the effort at reversing the climate change effects. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asks Palestinians to accept as reality Jerusalem as Israel's capital as protests spread over U.S. decision. We begin tonight in Abuja, where the opposition People's Democratic Party today put behind it the uncertainty over its leadership with the emergence of its former acting national chairman, Mr. Uche Secondus, as substantive leader of the party. Mr. Secondus defeated his opponents, former Minister of Education, Professor Tunde Adeniran, and founder of DAR Communications, Chief Raymond Dokpesi, to emerge winner in the election at the PDP's National Convention in Abuja, which lasted into the early hours of today. The results of the election announced by a former governor of Benue State, Mr. Gabriel Suswam, shows that Mr. Secondus secured 2,000 votes compared to the 231 votes secured by Professor Adeniran and the 66 votes polled by Dokpesi. In his acceptance speech, Mr. Secondus said the PDP was giving the ruling All Progressives Congress quick notice ahead of the 2019 general elections.
Enjoy yourself, baby boo. Everybody.
The much-anticipated convention of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, finally a reality, as delegates to the convention converge in the Eagle Square in Abuja, elect principal officers that will pilot the affairs of the PDP. After the conventional ceremonies, it is time for the real business of the day. Ballot boxes set and delegates file out to elect the candidates of their choice. 57 candidates screened by the convention committee, ready to contest for 23 positions in the PDP, but none of those positions attract much attention as that of the national chairman. 9 candidates had earlier been cleared by the convention committee to run for the PDP chairmanship position, but 5 pulled out of the race before the voting started, leaving Uche Secondus, Professor Tunde Adeniran, Tawhid Adidoja, and Raymond Dokpesi in the race for the #1 seat of the party.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Midway into the voting and counting of votes, however, Mr. Raymond Dokpesi and Professor Tunde Adeniran reject the convention, alleging irregularities in the election process. A statement from Professor Adeniran's office rejecting the convention reads in part, "We reject the entire electoral process of December 9, 2017. The election has been grossly compromised to achieve a predetermined end in line with the illegal unity list prepared by Governors Uche and Fayose and foisted on the entire delegates." On the night of the convention, Chief Olabode George also cited compromise as one of the reasons he pulled out of the chairmanship race.
I hereby withdraw this from this brazen fraud, an absolutely preconceived, monetized, mercantilist convention.
However, none of those protests could stop the convention. Voting finally ends. Results were sorted and announced.
It is my pleasure to announce a brand new chairman. And that chairman is no any other person but Prince Uche Secondus, who has been duly elected as the chairman of our great party.
Let me assure you, great members and leaders of our party, that by the grace of God and with all hands on deck, the brief tenancy of the All Progressive Congress APC in Aso Rock Villa expires on May 28, 2019. By this, we serve them quick notice.
With the swearing in of these elected principal officers, the PDP's National Working Committee now has the managerial responsibilities of the party, responsibilities which, no doubt, includes the huge task of reconciling all aggrieved members of the party.
Barely hours after he rejected the emergence of Uche Secondus as the national chairman of the PDP, one of the chairmanship candidates in the contest, Chief Raymond Dokpesi, made a U-turn and sent a congratulatory message to the new chairman. Mr. Dokpesi was among other chairmanship candidates who were dissatisfied with the electoral process that saw the emergence of Mr. Secondus at the elective convention. In a press statement, Chief Dokpesi acknowledged his defeat, saying he is willing to go with the decision of the delegates who voted Mr. Secondus. He adds, "The delegates have spoken. I congratulate the newly elected Prince Uche Secondus-led National Working Committee. You will recall that I said the PDP must be the ultimate winner at the end of the contest." According to Chief Dokpesi, who also hails from the South region as the new PDP chairman, the victory is for the party. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress has been reacting to the outcome of the National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, describing it as abnormal. According to the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi, the party sees the convention as rigging. In a statement, the party says, in reacting to revelations of how money for votes and systematic rigging was brazenly perpetrated during the National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, the All Progressives Congress is mindful of the popular axiom, a leopard cannot change its spot. The abnormalities that trail the PDP National Convention have further exposed the PDP as a party not ready and willing to change. Indeed, the PDP has once again displayed itself to the generality of Nigerians that it is a party with corruption deeply rooted in its DNA. The APC says the zoning of the chairmanship position of the party is unnecessary. With the controversy over the leadership of the People's Democratic Party now settled, the battle line appears drawn ahead of the 2019 general elections. But before 2019 is 2018, which promises to witness tense political activities. Channel Television's information and data analyst Babajide Ogunsonwo is here to look into the crystal ball. I don't see one on his table, but I'm sure you have it somewhere, maybe at home.
Oh, surely. The crystal ball is already getting set, and 2019 is close to us right now. Very close. Right.
So what do you see ahead of what do you see ahead now that the PDP seems to have put its house in order? I mean, this is what supporters of the party had looked forward to.
So here's it. The question on the lips of most Nigerians today is, who really owns the PDP? So tonight, let's quickly attempt to decode it by looking at the facts. And there are three ways we could do that. By looking at where are their governors from, where are their senators from, and where are most of the House of Representative members from. Now, the evidence clearly shows that even though we've got one PDP governor from the southwest, 3 from the southeast, and 2 from the northeast, there are 5 PDP governors from the south-south. So that is where most PDP governors are, the south-south. The second is to look at where are most senators from the PDP from. In the south-south, we've got 13 PDP senators. No other zone does the PDP have more senators than the south-south. Now, let's look at the House of Representatives. The PDP has 40 members from the House of Reps from the South-South. Again, no other zone in the country does the PDP have more members than the South-South. So the PDP has most governors from the South-South. It has most senators from the South-South. It has most of its House of Representative members from the South-South. So indeed, the South-South controls the PDP. And you will remember what they say, he who owns the riverbank owns the fish. And so Uche Secondus was really, in terms of football language, playing at home. Now, some people say there was money involved in this. Now, let's also potentially look at where the money could have come from. Let's look at what the Ministry of Finance tells us about monies they've paid out to state governments, not state governors, state governments this year. The Ministry of Finance says in Rivers State, for instance, it has given the Rivers State government 97 billion naira. there's only one state in the country that has collected more money from FARC than the Rivers State government, and that is Delta State. Again, two states that are in the south-south dominated by the PDP. So you remember, he who owns the riverbank owns the fish. And so today's PDP is really controlled by the south-south.
And would you say the party is ready? Because that's what they're telling the APC, that, you know, they have to watch out for 2019 because they're fully ready. Does this interpret into, you know, full readiness for the elections?
So again, before 2019, let's look at the 2018 calendar. Now, in the 4 quarters, there are 3 key events. We look at quarter 1. What will happen from next year? We're going to be seeing a lot of politics around the budget. Again, we're going to be seeing legislative politics. But again, what is legislative politics? We remember what had happened just 1 year to the 2015 elections. January 2014 was when those 11 senators decamped from the PDP to APC. That was January 2014. So we're going to be looking at what will be happening next month, January 2018. So a lot of legislative politics, and as well, we've got the Anambra rerun elections, which is happening in about 5 weeks' time. Those are the 3 key activities for the first quarter. In the second quarter, we're going to be seeing the PDP bringing and talking about a lot of policy wars, because in the second quarter is when the NBS will be releasing a lot of economic reports, and the PDP will intend to interpret those economic reports to its favor. Again, we know that the World Cup will be coming in the second quarter, and then we'll also be seeing a lot of lobbying. The reason why the World Cup is important is, in most times, the World Cup, we see the economy growing. Only once in our history have we seen a civilian president when the economy, the Nigerian economy, did not grow in a World Cup year, and that was in 1982. And again, we remember what happened in 1983. So in reality, if you can't grow the economy in a World Cup year, the next year doesn't look good for you. So again, in the second quarter, we'll see a lot of lobbying. And coming to the third quarter of next year is where the noise really then starts beginning. You see the party primaries. We have the Ekiti election in July. We have the Osun State election in September. So these 2 elections will be clear leading indicators as to what will happen in 2019. And finally, in the last quarter of the year, we will then see where the manifestos will be battling. And then we'll see a lot of performance reviews on 3 subjects: jobs, unemployment, and inflation rates. And finally, this will be the quarter of political controversies. Remember when the House was screening Babatunde Raji Fashola during the October 2015 screening? Ministerial screening. Exactly. And remember what he said. He said, may our loyalties not be tested. 2018 is the year when politicians will know who are really loyal to them.
You've done a fine job of presenting this calendar, I must say, but is it too early then to predict the permutations for 2019?
Perhaps it's not too early, but we can look at what happened in the penultimate years of the election. So we look at what happened in 2002 when President Obasanjo was preparing for the elections of 2003. The economy in 2002 grew by 14.6%. And in 2014, even though the economy grew by 7.5%, President Jonathan was still not able to win the election. So clearly, what determines where voters and who becomes the president is not just about the economy. So in 2018, we will really have to determine who will win the election, because we know from evidence that it is not just about how fast the economy grows, but there are a lot of other things involved. And one of the people we could look at to determine or to get some clues as to how did he win the 2003 elections is President Obasanjo, when the economy grew by 14.6%. There are 3 things he did. The first was he ensured that inflation rate dropped to 8.3% by April 2003. The second thing he did was in 2001 and 2002, President Obasanjo went on a spending spree. Capital expenditure was in double digits. So we saw 25%, 28%. And finally, in 2001, 2002, just before the elections, we saw that the Nigerian budget crossed the 1 trillion naira mark. So those were the 3 things the president did. What we're going to be looking at in 2018 will be, what are the 3 things that President Buhari will do to attempt, if he does, which we don't even know right now, if he will be running for the 2019. We can only speculate, but again, it is perhaps too early to know who will run, but it is not too early to know what is likely to happen. Again, remember, he who owns the riverbank owns the fish.
And you will be here with us throughout the journey. Thanks a lot for what you do. And in part two, after the break, we take a look at the perennial gridlock on Apapa Road in Lagos and its cost to businesses, residents and infrastructure. Please stay with us.